Hey there, fellow hungry travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in the Roman Garden. In Chester, England, yes, sometimes you see Roman remains in other parts of the world, and it kind of throws you off. Just like when you order a food that you think's from one country, but it turns out it's not. And today what we have for you are some of the foods you might see and think they're from one country, but they're from somewhere completely else. And I'm here in England, and I think we should start with the English national dish, Chicken Tikka Massala. You know, when you go to any Indian restaurant around the world, it seems like they have Chicken Tikka Massala. If it's not number one, it's number two after buttered chicken, right? But the thing is, it's not Indian. It's actually from Great Britain. It's actually from Scotland, and people actually fight over in Scotland and England who really started it and stuff like that. But the thing is, it's not from India. It's from right here. So when you have that chicken and those aromatic herbs and the cream there with your rice, just remember to say cheers to the Brit that invented it, all right? Now, another thing you might not realize, and one that's really associated with the country, is a doner kebab. So if you go to Germany, you'll see these doner kebabs, and you think it's Turkish, because it's usually at a Turkish shop or something like that. And what it is, it's bread with this you'll see these big, like, piles of meat here. They shave it off and they put it in there with the salad and the sauce, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. And everybody thinks it is the most Turkish thing you could possibly get. But here's the thing. The kebab, like the kebabs themselves were not made and invented in Germany, no. But the doner kebab, that sandwich, that was actually made in Germany. Yep, it's actually a German treat. So Dankeschön next time you get yourself a kebab. Now, the guy that invented it, he does have Turkish ancestry, so there is a little Turkish influence in there, but it's actually invented in Germany. Now, another thing that if you ever go to a Mexican restaurant, you always like to have the fajitas, right? And the thing is, we think Mexican food, fajitas is always, there's like a whole page just fajitas you might have, whether it's beef or chicken or whatever. What you have to realize is fajitas, they're not Mexican. They're actually Tex-Mex. They actually were invented in Texas, okay? And that's one of those things, because I could go through a whole list of Tex-Mex food versus Mexican food, and my friends, your nachos, no, that's not from Mexico either, I'm sorry. Now, if any of you have ever gotten takeout Chinese food, especially in the US, what is one thing that always comes with it? Fortune cookies. Well, fortune cookies are not Chinese. They're actually from San Francisco. I know, it's heartbreaking to know that your fortune isn't decided because of a Chinese restaurant, but because of some dude in San Francisco that put them together. Now, another thing that might throw you off is if you ever have tempura, you have that lightly battered and fried, food from Japan, which is like Japan is famous for tempura, right? But the thing is, Japan didn't invent the tempura kind of cooking. That's actually Portuguese. During the discoveries, the Portuguese took their cooking styles all over the world, and one of their things was lightly fried things, and that's where tempura came from. So it's actually a Portuguese thing that came through Japan. Now, a lot of these dishes have been refined since they were kind of inspired, but it's just something to kind of think about. Nothing says Paris like a breakfast with croissants, right? Oh, you think there's nothing more French, nothing more Parisian than a croissant. But here's the thing. Croissants aren't originally from France. I mean, they were perfected in France, don't get me wrong, but they're actually from Vienna. They're actually Austrian, okay? It was to celebrate the defeat of the Turks at the Battle of Vienna, okay? And so it was supposed to represent the moon on the flag, okay? And so that's where it actually came from. The crypto is actually the first kind of croissant, and then it passed on because, hey, who doesn't like butter, batter, kind of pastry, kind of happiness, right? I mean, if you turn it right, it looks like a smile. Now, another thing you might want to think about is some foods that you associate with a specific country might have been made in that country, but maybe not eaten by the people in that country. So, for example, if you get near, St. Patrick's Day, everybody thinks of corned beef and cabbage as truly an Irish delicacy. Well, here's the thing. In Ireland, corned beef was too expensive. People didn't eat corned beef there. They made it there and then they shipped it abroad. They exported it. It wasn't something that was really something you ate a lot there. It didn't become famous until the Irish came to the US and then they had the money to eat it, and then it became quite popular. So it's actually been kind of more promoted through the US kind of stuff than actually from Ireland. Ah, yes, going back to the takeaway Chinese food. And one thing that you would think maybe came from China, but didn't, is crab rangoon. In crab rangoon, it's pastry that's filled with cream cheese and crab meat and then deep fried. I think that might have given it away. The deep fried part might have given it away that it's from the US. But the thing is, China did invent some stuff that people don't realize is actually from them. The idea of fermented cabbage, sauerkraut, the most German food we can have after bratwurst, right? Well, sauerkraut, the idea of this fermented in vinegar kind of veggie kind of stuff actually comes from China like couple thousand years ago, and then it was brought over, Genghis Khan and all these kind of brought that idea over of the pickling with the vinegar and stuff, and that's where the sauerkraut came from. So, tut mir leid, Deutsche, sauerkraut is not originally Germany. Now, the Germans did perfect it, I will give them that, and oh my gosh, the blue kraut is my favorite, but just want to give you a heads up on that. Now, next up, there's foods that actually did come from a country, but they weren't put together until they went to another country, and that is spaghetti and meatballs. Now, if you go to Italy, you can get spaghetti on your first plate, right? Your pasta comes first, and then in your second plate, you can get meatballs, but you don't get spaghetti and meatballs together. And the thing is, if you get a meatball in Italy, it's a big meatball. It was the U.S. where it really came up with the spaghetti and meatballs in the marinara sauce kind of put together. And the meatballs in the U.S. are a lot smaller than you'd think about in Italy. Now, I know there's a few villages in Italy where spaghetti and meatballs actually did happen, but it was not popularized, it was not a thing. And if you go to Italy and you see spaghetti and meatballs on a menu, it's guaranteed that that is a tourist restaurant. That's why Chef Boyardee, spaghetti and meatballs. Just think of it that way. Now, another Italian dish, or something you think is Italian but isn't really Italian, is chicken parm. So chicken parm, it's at every Italian restaurant in the U.S., and what it is you take a chicken breast and then you hammer it down like crazy to a flattened thing, and then you bread it, and then you fry it, and then you put marinara sauce on top and cheese on top, and you're happy as can be, right? The thing is, again, that was made in the U.S., but this time it was based off of a dish in Italy, eggplant parmesan, which actually is a real thing, but instead of the chicken, it's got eggplant in there. Now, my American friends, I have to tell you, the idea that nothing is more American than apple pie is 100% true. But not in the fact that apple pie is from the US. It's that apple pie isn't originally from North America. It came from Europe. Apples are not a thing that was indigenous to North America. They were brought over, hence Johnny Appleseed, taking the apples all over the place. And the whole pies thing, I'm here in England. How many more pies can I actually eat, right? So I'm sorry, my American friends. American apple pie was not invented in the US. It came from all over the world. There's all kinds of pies that were out there, all right? And then I think it's important that we discuss a very important misnomer when it comes to food and putting the wrong location with it. And that's when you're in the US and you say French fries. French fries are not from France. French fries were something that the soldiers in World War I saw the Belgian soldiers making, and they realized how tasty they were, and the Belgians were speaking French. So they just called them French fries because they were getting fried by people speaking French. So we give all the hubbub and all the glory to our French friends for those wonderful French fries, when in reality, we should say merci to our Belgian friends, all right? So what are some other foods that aren't actually from where you think they're from? Put it down in the comment section below so we can help people learn more about food history. And I'll say bye from here in Chester, England.